I'm joined today by Paul Barrett, CEO of Rome Resources. Thanks for joining me, Paul.
Oh, my pleasure, Darren.
So, Paul, perhaps for those new to Rome, you could give us a quick overview, please.
Yes, absolutely. So Rome is basically it's a tin and copper explorer currently active in the DRC, in the Congo, in the eastern part of the DRC.
Hmm.
And the reason that we're on AIM is that we came, Pathfinder Minerals as was, came to basically dispose of its only asset. It became a cash shell about 2 years ago now,
Hmm.
and we did an RTO of Rome Resources. Rome was a Canadian, it was a TSX listed entity. It was finding real problems getting traction in the markets in Canada, both for tin and secondly for sub-Saharan Africa. So we decided to bring it to London as a much better understanding of the African markets, I think, and maybe even critical minerals here now. So
Hmm.
we had a successful RTO and we just hit the ground running. And so we've been drilling on two prospects, which is one is a pure tin play and one is a copper tin, lead and silver, so a very polymetallic play. We started drilling, finished that program in about August of last
Hmm.
year, well, July of last year, and did a mineral resource, a maiden mineral resource that kind of showed people what we were trying to achieve, and now we're back drilling. So we're back drilling slightly deeper into the prospects and trying to basically update, get some more resource tonnage under our belts before deciding what to do in the middle of this coming year. So as I say, it's a tin focus, but there is a lot of copper and a heck of a lot of zinc and quite a bit of silver in there. So it's an interesting story.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. So you've completed the maiden resource estimate. And got an initial resource together there. And obviously you're on the second drill program at Mont Agoma and the Kalayi prospects. So what are the sort of like actual plans at each one of them? Are you doing the same sort of thing, just going deeper at both, or are there have you got different strategies at each one?
Well, they are slightly different. Montagoma, that's the one, the polymetallic copper, etc. That is a matter of trying to chase an eastern zone, which we found with one of the last holes of the last campaign, quite shallow.
Hmm.
So there's that, and also going deeper into the Montagoma structure, into the main zone. So the geological model is that basically in these granite sourced tin copper systems, the tin comes out at a higher temperature. So as the fluids are coming up, the tin comes out deeper, and the copper continues in the fluids until it gets shallower. So, and that's really what's happening in Montagoma. So in the shallow part of Montagoma, there's a lot of copper,
Hmm.
and so we're now drilling to try and get below that. We probably won't pick up much more copper, and as it changes into the tin zone. So that's Montagoma. Kalayi is slightly different because it's already in the tin zone. The copper zone, if it was ever there, has been eroded off. So we're already in the tin zone. There's quite high grades, but quite relatively thin intercepts in the shallow part of the section. And so we're chasing what is essentially happening at Alphamin, which is where you get a number of thin but high grade stringers in the shallow. And as you go deeper, those intercepts widen out. So that's what we're hoping will be transformational for Kalayi. And we're drilling two holes at Kalayi at the moment. We completed one, and we had that 6 meter zone in it last week, but we're just basically taking the bit deeper in both Kalayi and Montagoma.
Hmm. And when did you say those drill campaigns or the drilling programs will be completed?
I think we're looking at towards the end of March, I
Okay.
would say. I mean, touch wood, it's going quite well in terms of we've got a new drilling supervisor out there, Australian guy, and he's brought in a Ghanaian crew, and they seem to be much more switched on in terms of how to fix things when things go wrong. Which when you're out in the middle of fairly
Yeah. Yeah.
portable jungle, that you need people like that. So yeah, I'm pretty confident that we originally budgeted for 2,000 meters, but I'm hoping we'll get more.
Okay. Well, I mean, both tin and copper and base metals generally, and you obviously mentioned silver there, which has had a sterling rise. They've all experienced significant rises over the last year. Has this brought further attention or interest to Rome's projects, especially given, that they're outside of China?
Well, it has. I mean, we have a dialogue with the new owners of Alphamin and also with a
Mm,
couple of Chinese entities, and also we're starting to potentially talk to zinc off-takers as well. So there is a lot of interest from various directions, to be honest, in terms of this. As you say, I mean, tin and copper have just been amazing. I mean, I mean, realistically, I mean, $50,000 a ton for tin is probably a temporary thing. I mean, when it was $30,000 a ton, we were saying, look, I think if we simply put Kalayi feedstock through Alphamin, you're probably looking at somewhere in the region of twelve to $15,000 a ton total cost. So the margin, even at $30,000 a ton,
mm,
is great, and at 50
mm,
is astronomical. So, and Alphamin just put out their, I think their Q4 numbers, which was 25% higher than they thought in terms of revenue. So, yeah, it is quite a, it does get a lot of interest. That's right. That's a small market. Tin is a very small market.
yeah. Well, you mentioned Alphamin there. Obviously, one of the largest tin producers, if not the largest globally. Um, given your proximity, I mean, I think they've only got like something like a 7 to 8 year mine life remaining. I think they
Yeah.
have still got exploration prospects, but is what Rome are doing pretty much on their doorstep? And the fact that you said you've got a relationship with them do you think what Rome are doing is definitely being watched by them?
Yes, I think the relationship we have is essentially on the ground in terms of Alphamin is an operational one. In terms of, I mean, we'll probably get onto it in a minute because
Mm,
the DRC, security is an issue. So we have an operational relationship there, which works quite well, and also a potentially commercial relationship with the new owners, IRH. And I think Kalai is clearly something that would run straight through to Alphamin. I know they're looking at exploring more in the northern part of their
mm,
permit as they get closer to us. There's maybe potentially a bit of cooperation there, but that's a little bit more commercially sensitive, I think. So, but yeah, I mean, it's clearly because they're there, they're producing, um, and it's basically a cash machine, Alphamin, in terms of their,
mm.
and they're getting the tin exported through by road out to the east coast. I think Dar es Salaam or somewhere like that, or Mombasa. So yeah, it's the clear route for the tin.
Yeah. Well, you touched on it there. How is the general situation in the DRC following sort of the political tensions last year? Are Rome exposed to this, or have you sort of been managing that situation pretty well?
Well, we're not really exposed. I mean, we did close down in May of last year. We shut down along with Alphamin. So
Mm,
there was we'd set up what is basically a trigger point, so that if the M23 got more than whatever point that was on the road, about 150 kilometers away, we would all shut down and fly out. So we did that for a few weeks. It's not, I mean, the effects of what's going on is purely operational in terms of logistics. So we used to operate, or have been operating out of Goma, which was very good because you could fly into Rwanda and then just get to Goma and come out on the helicopter. But we've got to go to Kisangani now, which is an additional flight leg. So, the helicopter's more fuel involved and also more time. So, but it's manageable. And appears to be happening in North and South Kivu is that really M23 are concentrating on that fertile strip of the rift between the Rwanda and the Burundi border and the
right.
start of the jungle. And I don't think they're at all interested in getting into impenetrable jungle. I don't think it really serves their purpose. Their purpose
Mm,
is to try and control. And they have set up an administration in Goma. Unfortunately, the airport's not open yet. That would be, then effectively you'd almost be back to normal if that was the case. So yeah, I mean, we are affected logistically, but not critically at all.
yeah. Okay. So, post completion of the current phase of drilling, then, what would be the next steps in taking the projects forwards? I know that you're going to have an updated mineral resource estimate,
Yeah.
but would the company, for example, produce a PFS like traditional mining companies do, or would you potentially be seeking some sort of form of partnership? On the projects, or even perhaps
Yeah.
dispose of one if the price was right. Have any discussions or sort of inquiries regarding this taken place?
Well, I think the Cloud Springs and Mark Gasson brought to the project is that they've got a lot of experience of basically discovering these deposits, bringing them up to a PFS kind of
Mm,
stage, and then monetizing them. So it was always kind of in the back of our mind, well, okay, what we'll have to do is get a decent mineral resource this, let's say, end of the second quarter
yeah.
this year, and then decide on what gives the shareholders the biggest bang for their buck. Is it then either selling the project or partially monetizing it, or is it going out into the equity markets and doing the PFS? So these are things that are not fixed, basically. They're
Mm,
whatever is the best value for the shareholders at the time. It's a fairly simple thing. I mean, Klaus is a big shareholder, and we have some really good, strong, supportive shareholders. So I think it basically protects the investors by saying that we're going to try and do the best thing, and whatever that is. And I think personally, I think the likelihood is bringing in a strategic partner and getting them to fund the next phase, and diluting that way rather than diluting with equity. If that's
mm.
possible, I think that would be the best route.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, Klaus. I think he's your executive chairman. He was instrumental, wasn't he, in actual the initial Alphamin discovery?
Yeah, that's right. He and
Mm,
he and Mark both were involved in that discovery and the initial drilling. Um, yeah, so they're very well. He's very well versed in the play and how it works. Um, and now with as the Alphamine project has gone on, there's a lot of material being published. So there's a lot of geological information that we can rely on
mm.
and feed through into where we are. Use it as a very strong analog. As we said, they're only 5 miles away.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, finally, then, what does the next? We sort of touched on it, but what does the next sort of like few months, maybe 3 6 months, look like? And how could this potentially translate into value for shareholders or people looking at investing in Rome?
Yeah. So the drilling campaign, as I say, we're rocking along now, and I think we'll be finished by the end of March. Assays always take forever to get
Mm,
through to Lubumbashi and then down to Johannesburg. So I suspect we'll be seeing assays coming effectively a month behind. It won't take long to update the subsurface model and have MSA update the resource. So I'm thinking in May, potentially the end of May, we should have that updated resource. And
mm.
by then, we will have, I mean, clearly at Indaba and one-to-one, we're having discussions on people, potential off-takers, strategic partners, etc. And so we'll
Okay.
develop those as the results that come in. We'll keep these guys updated, and then hopefully by the end of summer, really, we'll know which way we're going to go in terms of strategics or further equity or some other solution. So yeah, it should be quite a good 4 or 5 months in terms of news flow. That's for sure. We're also doing
Mm,
some metallurgy work, especially because of the fact that we got the polymetallic and what will be the best, kind of processing direction or processing solution to basically bring out the copper and the zinc and the silver as well with the tin at the same time. So that metallurgy first phase of that is completed. So we'll probably be announcing that in the next couple of weeks as well, which should hopefully show that there is a route to monetizing that copper.
mm. Yeah, this is all on the backdrop of what's happening with critical minerals generally at the moment. Obviously, tin being well, tin and copper,
Yeah.
and many others being one of them. And Obviously the US are getting, they've mentioned that, it's a national security concern for them, where they're sourcing their metals and processed metals from. So anything outside of China, like
Yeah.
projects like yours in Africa, are definitely getting a lot of attention. So yeah, it's an interesting space at the moment.
Yeah. No, I know that in fact, only a couple of days ago, I think the DRC sent a list of state-owned projects
Mm.
to the US government to say, look, come and help us develop these. So I think once that happens and US companies start to come into to DRC, because there's not that many around at the moment, but once that changes, I think the landscape will open up, and I mean, there's so much potential in DRC. It's incredible.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, Paul, thanks for joining us today. Exciting times, and I hope that you'll come back and talk to us again in the near future when you've got some more news.
Okay, will do.